mission, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind, in the darkness all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be, for justice wheels keep turning, granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. When these crime busters run, no victims left in vain. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Credit fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing tonight? Hello, Kent. Good to see you again. Katie, glad to see you. Hello. Hope everybody's doing good and the rest that are out in the bushes there. We'll get started with our spotlight on the missing. Our first one is some good news, at least I believe it is. Olivia Jones had gone missing May 14th this year from Brentwood, Tennessee. When I went to find more today, it said resolved. I tried to click on it to see what that means. If she came home or just what that meant. I even tried to Google and I found nothing. So all we know is that it's resolved. Well, she's not missing anymore, whatever that might mean. I guess that's always good news. One less child in Tennessee missing. But I wish I had more information for you. I just don't. I couldn't find anything other than resolved. All right, the second one. Grace Ann Morris. Grace Ann is 17 years old. She's been missing since April 18th. About a month, guys. Last seen in Memphis. She's 17 years old, 5 feet 5 inches tall, 110 pounds, black hair, and brown eyes. If anybody knows anything about the whereabouts of Grace Ann or her disappearance, please call the Memphis Police Department, 911, or 1-800-GBI-FIND. All right. So there we go. Hello, Ginger. Good to see you. Christy, good to see you. Welcome in. You made it, huh? So, guys, I have been feeling somewhat guilty for not talking about Sebastian's case. I just have to admit that because I've seen where Seth has made statements about no one's talking about Sebastian, and I mean you all know that there's just nothing to talk about. There's, other than the garbage that's going on the YouTube streets, which I'm not going to discuss. There's nothing happening in the case. There's, law enforcement isn't talking about it. As far as we know, there's no new leads or anything like that. And so short of going over everything again, it's really hard where we have the active case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, right? But I did want to spend a little bit of time just talking about Sebastian. Guys, my heart does bleed for Sebastian. He'd be 16 now. We don't know where he is. There is no evidence that he is no longer on this earth, right? So we're going with the premise that he's alive. He's out there somewhere. There's an Amber Alert out on him, which does talk about abduction, right? And if we look at timeline in the case. Let me share my screen with you. So, from Sumner County, within the first several days of the search, more than 2,000 miles were searched on foot. Many of these areas were initially searched and searched again. Law enforcement officers have searched the neighborhoods, surrounding neighborhoods, schools, and many other areas of the county by foot. Bloodhounds and handlers have searched the same areas. There have been aerial searches with helicopters, drones, and a fixed-wing plane. These aerial searches have been conducted on multiple days and multiple nights using thermal imaging technology. Sebastian's residence, the yard, the house, the vehicles, all have been searched multiple times. The neighborhood where Sebastian lives has been canvassed. Neighbors' houses have been searched. Sebastian is autistic, and this part right here, I believe, is inaccurate information. That is something that's typical with autistic children, and so I don't know whoever wrote this. The only thing that Seth or Katie have ever said is Sebastian loves to swim, not that he's drawn to water. Okay. But he doesn't like to swim in rivers, lakes, ponds. He doesn't like to be dirty. He doesn't like dirty stuff. Okay. He likes a pool where it's nice and clean and he can see. Okay. But pools in the neighborhood were searched. Dive teams were brought in, and bodies of water around the neighborhood and beyond that area were searched, including caves. Okay. Video has been collected. Numerous search warrants have been executed. Digital evidence has been analyzed. Gaming system information has been analyzed. Vehicle identification and analysis with the help of the FBI has been done. Surveillance footage review has been done. So, guys, when we look at this, it has been so easy for people to say there wasn't enough done in Sebastian's case. I beg to differ, right? I beg to differ. Hello, Brenda Joe. Good to see you. How long ago did Sebastian disappear? Sebastian disappeared on February. Well, the last day that he was seen was February 25th, 2024. So yeah, it's a year and February, March, April, year and 3 months, guys. So we've been talking about him for that long. Here on my channel, we did discuss everything in his case. We went through all of the videos, and it's true that most people are not talking about him. There's only a few select channels that are talking about Sebastian. And that's sad, but there does come a point where there's nothing to talk about anymore, and there's been so much garbage that went on in the case that, I'm just not going to go there, lawsuits between the parents, one side of the parents of Sebastian, and creators, and it has just been horrific, guys. But I will say, if we look at the red flags in his case, so the last that the public saw him was at Texas Roadhouse on February 25th, 2024. And yes, he did look thin. His mom's inconsistency with her statements she didn't even mention that she heard him making noise in his bedroom. Then all of a sudden on like I think the fourth interview, she finally mentioned that there was noise. And then the noise grew into a thud. And then on the year, I believe on the 1 year mark of him missing, she didn't even mention the thud, I don't think. Quote me. When he left, or when he went missing, he was not seen on any video surveillance because they came home after the Texas Roadhouse. She said he took the garbage out. His biological father said he saw the video. Very hard to see, but whoever took the garbage out had a hoodie on. When Katie and Chris were at Texas Roadhouse just before that, Sebastian was wearing a black short sleeve t-shirt and Katie was wearing a hoodie. Does that mean anything? Does that mean that Sebastian couldn't have put on a hoodie? No, he could have. But he was not seen on any video surveillance leaving, and he lives in a neighborhood, right, that of 600,000 plus $600,000 homes, $600,000 plus homes. Lots of video surveillance around there. He wasn't seen on any of them. $50,000 reward by FBI, which FBI does not often put out a $50,000 reward. Was seen as criminal intent. And there is another $450,000 reward that has been offered by Dog the Bounty Hunter and At Night Media Intelligence. So a total of $500,000 reward for Sebastian. Sebastian did have autism. He was recently diagnosed with autism. His mom and stepdad talked about bedwetting issues. We do know that there was 5 CPS reports from 2022 to 2024 before he went missing that involved his stepfather, and his stepfather admitted to hitting Sebastian with a belt. His stepfather also has previous experience of domestic violence against others. Katie is his 5th wife. Other wives have talked about domestic abuse from him. It has come out that when Sebastian was like 8, he was abused in his own home by another boy that was older than him. His mom and his stepfather left the home within a week after he disappeared in their RV. And it's been very sporadic that they've been at the home. Their discipline of Sebastian was very harsh. They got rid of his cat, they got rid of his snake. If he didn't clean his room the way they wanted him to, they'd pick up all of his stuff and throw it in the garbage. He got beat with a belt because he didn't put on a belt that day. They made him wear pull-ups at 15 years old because of his bedwetting issues. It goes on, right? These are facts that are out there. Hello, K9. Good to see you, hon. Shelly, hello. The house lights were on at 3 a.m. and there was someone running back to the house with a flashlight around 3 a.m. There was a car waiting on the curb that the flashlights ran to. But you can't, it was very dark. There's no street lights in that area, so you can't make out anything. I'm so afraid Sebastian's case is going cold. I'm grateful we are talking about him. Yeah. Um, I'm afraid it's going cold too, K9. And as I was saying in the beginning, I've been feeling guilty for not talking about him, you know, but there literally isn't anything to talk about other than to let people know who haven't heard before. Um, you know, but most of us here in chat do know about him. That's right. No scent picked up by dogs of him around the home. In my opinion, he never left on his own. A couple somebodies know where he is. Yeah, I'm afraid of that too. That is so funny because I made boiled dinner yesterday, K9. So not corned beef, but yeah, um, beef stew meat and potatoes and carrots and cabbage, onions, and yeah, yummy, yummy. I've been eating it. Yeah. Mom and stepdad were wanting to get rid of him and their lack of emotion. So, yes, a lot of things that were going on in Sebastian's case that hasn't changed. I really don't know how anyone can be. I'm right there with you, Shelley. I don't know how anybody can be around that guy either. Well, wait a minute. I do know of one person that fits right with him, but we're not going to go there. Ah, yum. So, um, you know, I did kind of just want to touch base on him, you know, um, get his name out there again, in the hashtag, um, and to let people know my heart is still on finding Sebastian. My my porch is lit up green for Sebastian. I put out shorts every day for Sebastian. And you know, but short of going over the same things over and over and over again, it's just tough, right? It's just tough. But I don't want, you know, here's what I worry about. You know who I'm talking about, don't you, K9? uh, homemade chili yesterday. That sounds good too. Yeah, he could be anywhere, honestly. He could be anywhere. Um, and this is how he would look, but he does wear black square frame glasses. Um, but this is kind of how he looked when he left, even though we weren't given these kind of pictures in the beginning. We were given pictures like when he was 12 years old, I think, even younger than that, um, by his mother and stepfather. Almost like they didn't want anyone to find him. Two peas in a pod. Yes, they do deserve each other. Oh goodness. But um so yeah, guys, it's not that I don't want to talk about him. It's just, what are we gonna say? Right? What are we gonna say? There is literally nothing on this page, which this page has a lot of information, but that we have not talked about, right? There's Sebastian Snake, and see, this is a picture of, I said, I think when he was 12. You know, but there literally is nothing on this page that we have not talked about. We've gone over the timelines. We've gone over everything. We've gone over the searching, and we've gone over every single interview that the parents did. But I like to, just because people forget what they did in the search, right? And that's why I wanted to go over that again, because even bloodhounds and handlers were deployed to revisit and thoroughly examine key areas. So, guys, this was an extensive search, right? It really was an extensive search. Were they thinking correctly from the get-go? I don't know, right? But if you think about it, TBI issued an endangered child alert on the 26th, which is the day that he was reported missing, guys. And the Amber Alert was the 27th. So I think they were. It didn't take them long to figure out something was wrong here. Am I going to say that they did everything correctly? No, I'm not. But I don't know what they did or didn't do. But I know as a whole what they did. Yes. He keeps his hand in his pockets. He loves cats. He walks on his tiptoes. Yeah, their voices. Oh, is that the name of his snake, Brownie? That's interesting. Yep. We even explored corruption and a DA that needs to retire. We did. And you've seen them. Yeah. I'm new to this case. What was the suspicions of what happened to people? Did the parents put him in the garbage? And I'm not. No, Kent, I know you're not trying to be rude. So, yeah, we do believe here. I'm gonna read to you his timeline. Okay, so on Thursday the 22nd, he spoke to his dad, Seth Rogers, after school. His dad lived about an hour away. His dad got him every other weekend. Okay, now growing up, just to give you a timeline, and I'm glad you're giving me something to talk about here, so I'm able to fill you in on this case 100%. Thank you for asking. So his dad is Seth Rogers. And when Sebastian was born, his mother, Katie Rogers, was in the Navy. Okay. So she was always off on deployment. Okay. Seth was a stay-at-home dad. So Seth literally took care of Sebastian. Up until then, they lived in California. Up until Sebastian was, I want to say, I don't know exactly how old he was, but Katie met or started having an affair, we believe, with Chris Proudfoot, who was his superior, Chris's superior. He was in the Navy as well, but he was from Hendersonville, Tennessee originally. Okay. When they got out of the Navy, Chris and Katie moved to Hendersonville area, Tennessee, and Seth followed because he didn't want to be away from his son. And he found a place in Clarksville, which is about an hour away. He became a security guard at a prison in Nashville. Seth Rogers did. Okay. Chris Proudfoot is a crane tower operator. And Katie works for installing home security systems for Brinks. Okay. They lived in, like I said, a $600,000 home in Hendersonville. So on February 24th, Sebastian and his mom, Katie, went to dinner at Costco. On February 25th, they had a big day. She made him breakfast, spaghetti pancakes. Then they went to BJ's Wholesale Club. Then they went to a bowling alley. And at 6:30, Sebastian and his mom, Katie Proudfoot, had dinner at Texas Roadhouse. After returning home, Sebastian took out the trash to the curb, but that's not been proven that it was Sebastian. Okay. Katie told Sebastian to go to bed at 9 o'clock. He said, okay. And he said goodnight to his mom and his puppies. Katie was on the phone with her husband, Christopher Proudfoot. And Christopher told her at midnight to go to bed after she fell asleep on the sofa. Now, she has changed her story several different times. Okay. 6 a.m., Katie called Christopher to tell him that Sebastian was missing and reported him missing to the police. And she began driving around the neighborhood searching for him. They three-wayed in the sheriff's office. Instead of calling 911, Chris Proudfoot has a buddy at the sheriff's office. And they called him and did a three-way. Okay. Now, the thing I do want to say is that at 3 a.m., it has been proven. We've seen pictures by the mob crew who you can tell that the lights were on in the back of the house where Katie's bedroom is at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can also see video from the neighbor on the corner of Stafford and Kellen where two flashlights are seen coming from the Proudfoot's home into the common area toward a car that's parked on Stafford. And then one of those flashlights goes running back pretty quickly to the house. The car leaves. You can't everything is really dark, that there's no street lights on that street. Everything is pretty dark. Okay. And then the mom and the stepdad left within a week. They did not talk to any media for about a week, I think. And over time, their statements have been analyzed by statement analysis, behavior analysis, and they've been proven to have guilty knowledge. Okay. So, to answer your question, Kent, all eyes are on the mom and the stepfather for this. Now, having said that, I should say all professional eyes and those who can think critically are on the mom and stepfather. Okay. Because it's a matter of the father, the biological father, his statements have been consistent. Statement analysis, behavior analysis show that he's telling the truth. So anyone with any critical thinking experience looks in the direction of the mom and the stepdad, where the 5 CPS cases were, so on and so forth. Yeah. Kent. It's extremely sad. So you have a 15-year-old autistic male who just disappeared. He went poof in the middle of the night at 3:00, in my opinion. And nothing. And his poor father is heartbroken. I mean, whenever he does a video, he's crying and we're all crying with him. That's how bad it is. It's awful. Yes, allegedly Katie has a boyfriend who is a reserve police officer and lives in a home behind her backyard. Shelley says, I strongly believe her day will come when someone will tell her they don't care about her feelings. I agree. Yeah, they didn't want their last name given to the media. The stepfather triggers a lot of people. He's very cruel. Extremely cruel. They've never helped search where the father has been out there searching. And yeah, that last full day that her and Katie were together. Hello, Pam, by the way. The last full day that they were together, they did all kinds of stuff. And they, that put him out of his routine, which we all know for autistic children, that's not a good thing, right? Exactly, Kent. See, I think what some of these parents do is they listen to some of these statements. Well, for example, Deception Detective, he has 7 steps or 7 things that innocent parents will do and say for missing children. And it's almost as though that Chris and Katie have been watching him because they try really hard, but you can't, it's not easy to lie, right? You can't do that easily. And they can see right through them. So yes, you're exactly right. Exactly right. I think they're watching some of these. In fact, I'm going to show you something right here. Look at what Deception Detective wrote today, just 3 hours ago. Malaya and Daniel, study my videos all you want. It won't help. Only the truth can set you free. I'm telling you, they're watching these things because they're trying, but it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Katie, wait, what? What? What are you saying? I want to know, hon. Yeah, the stepfather's been married only 5 times. Yeah, they're trying to perfect the method, but it's hard to lie, right? It's hard to lie. Yeah. Oh, well, no, I'm not going to say that that's a fact. But it's been talked about since the beginning, by the neighbors. So, yeah, I'm not going to say that's a fact, Katie. Because, I mean, of course, she hasn't admitted to it, right? So, and neither is he. Right. Just gives you some kind of an idea, right? So yes, there. Yeah, no worries. Like I said, I try to stick with facts, but that is something that came out very early on. Um, and I mean, another thing is he's a reserve police officer for Hendersonville, Tennessee. That is where the video came from that showed the lights on at the back of the house. But get this, he never turned his video over to law enforcement. He instead gave it to the private eye that was hired by Chris and Katie. There you go. Exactly. It wouldn't surprise me either. So, um, whether it's true or not, it it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Um, Shelly, on that one, um, I actually saw a post. I didn't save it. I didn't want to, but I actually saw a post where Chris did a review of one swinger party. He actually gave a review for it online. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, if he doesn't want that stuff known, he shouldn't put it out there. That's all I got to say. Um, all that stuff does not help us find Sebastian. There was an alleged poker party on Friday night. Allegedly, stepfather was not home all month, but allegedly he was, Kent. So, yeah, just a lot going on with that case. In the background, and a lot of garbage. That's what matters. Sebastian is missing, and his father, Seth, desperately wants him home with him. Desperately. All right. So, having filled Kent in on Sebastian's case, which is kind of interesting. We haven't had anybody in here for a while that didn't know about Sebastian's case. So, Kent, you made it possible for us to really have something to talk about today and to keep his name in the algorithm, because I don't want his case is going cold. There's no doubt about it. And I feel bad for his dad. I feel bad for him. Really bad for him. So what's on the screen? Mr. Yummy says, study my videos all you want, Malaya and Daniel. Only the truth can set you free. There's got to be a reason he put that on there. I don't know. But I did want to go over something. So, I guess I'll show you that first. So, this is the mom's Facebook page. Okay. She's back up again, guys. Her intro is she has Lilly with 2 L's. Born March 22nd, 2019. Jack, October 29th, 2020. Meadow, December 5th, 2023. Okay. She has them as her profile picture. She has removed all pictures of Dan. And she's marked herself as single. The thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, and if you guys can go here, you can look. It is, I've got the link in the description for my video today. Okay, so you can go there. But I wanted to point out a picture, and there are quite a number of pictures like this, where these children are older and they both have pacifiers. And Ginger Girl brought this up to me, which I was not aware of. But the effects of pacifier use on language development in infants and toddlers. Pacifier use has been linked to negative effects on speech and language development in infants and toddlers. Prolonged use of pacifiers can lead to raised or indented palates, which can result in an oral cavity that is too large for normal articulation. According to research, intense use of pacifiers, defined as use over several hours during the day, can have a detrimental effect on speech and language development, especially for children past 2 to 3 years of age. Okay, so guys, I'm just saying here, we have talked about the fact that the mom believed that the children were possibly autistic. But speech and language development can be caused by other things. And if they were having speech and language difficulties, it could be because of these pacifiers. I'm just pointing that out to you. Yep. Daniel said the truth will come to light. Well, Daniel, it sure will, won't it? I started watching the video this morning, and the lady was on. She started calling head searcher a narcissist and that it was her fault that the search has gone in the wrong direction. I want to go on my phone after her. What video? The head searcher for Jack and Lilly? But anyway, I wanted to go over that because we know that the children were not diagnosed with autism. They hadn't been yet. The mother said that. Could it be because of this? Using those causes the mouth not to grow in the right way. So I wanted to put that out there, guys, because it could very well be. So then okay, I wanted to go over another one where the former dog handler has found that he feels that this missing kid's case is strange. So let's listen to what.
For nearly 3 weeks, and 8 full days of scouring Lansdowne Station, there's still no sign of Lily and Jack Sullivan. Glenn Brown is having a hard time wrapping his head around that. The retired RCMP dog handler of 26 years says it's baffling to him the children are still missing after such wide scale searches that included upwards of 160 search and rescue personnel, dogs, helicopters, and drones.
I find it hard to believe that a 6 and 4 year old would just disappear like that. I guarantee you, if I was still working today, that'd be the thing to be you'd be racing around your mind all the time. Like, where would they have gone? Like, we have done everything. I think the last thing I read, they searched the square kilometer area, 5 kilometers. That's a big area. That's a big area, and that's meticulously searched.
The children were reported missing from a home on Gairloch Road on May 2nd, sparking a 6 day search that was eventually scaled back. Then, over the weekend, 115 search and rescue crew members were called back. RCMP have not said what prompted them to return, but Brown says it's not unusual to restart a search. He says there are a number of reasons police may call crews back, including tips or new evidence. But if that was the case, that information likely was not known by the search crews or even police officers on the ground.
They may tell them, we got a tip, and we just want you to go in that area and search and see if you find anything. They're not going to tell you exactly what was in the tip. It's not going to do it. They don't even tell their own people that, unless you are in the know, right? Unless it's like you're in that investigative group.
RCMP
I find that interesting. So he said, they don't tell you why you're going in there, what the tip is, right? That's pretty interesting in my opinion, and it makes sense because they don't want you to be looking for a specific thing. They want you to be looking for everything, right? Yeah. You have to be careful who you watch. Can't it's mm. um yeah, there are just some people that I don't know, like to exaggerate and make things up just for clickbait, and I hate that. I wish it was not that way. Um but it's out there. I've seen it already on Jack and Lily's case, and it's frustrating me to no end. And yes, the searchers are not to blame for these children being missing. Oh my gosh, they have worked so hard. I agree. Um, I hope they're not guilty either, right? Um, and I mean, I just really hope they're not. But kids just don't go poof. Sebastian didn't just go poof. Jack and Lily didn't just go poof, right? And that's that fact right there. We have no evidence that Jack and Lily walked out that house, and we have no evidence that Sebastian walked out of his. Right? That's where some things are the same. Then you have inconsistencies in parents' statements, which is not good, with red flags. That's never good, right? And I just do not want to go there. And yes, Kent, just like you said, we have to have faith and that they're going to get their man or their woman. If what I've been thinking about the kids being taken, you know, away is correct. I mean, we have to face the fact that we may never see these kids brought home. But I sincerely hope that they are able to build a case and prosecute who's ever at fault for these kids not coming home, right? Yeah, you're right, Katie. And Sebastian's neighborhood is a lot more odd, though, with all the cameras around. Makes no sense at all. Not one camera caught him exiting the house. To me, that's why it was done at 3:00 in the morning with flashlights. They thought they weren't going to be caught, but guess what? They were. Right? They were. Yeah. And you have to wonder when you look at this right here, all of a sudden she's single now. When they were in bed together on May 2nd, and now all of a sudden she's single. Now, I'm not saying she's guilty, but how does that work? And now you don't have any photos of Dan. They're all gone. They're all gone. Why is that? Right? What does she know or not know? In Sebastian's case, it's no coincidence that these people knew the darkest part of the neighborhood at 3 a.m. Yep. And he was caught exiting the house, just not on his own in the dark night. Yes, he was carried. The big question is, what is she telling us? That's right. What is she telling us? What is she saying to us, guys? I tried to watch the light video on my phone, but I can't really see anything to tell what it could be at all. Maybe if I can check out a computer one day, I'd be able to see it better. Oh, the best place to go, guy who's tech savvy, the mob crew. He has done an excellent job with the lights video, Katie. He's done an excellent job showing the back of the house being lit up and exactly which windows were lit up. And showing the car parked where the flashlights went to. So, you're not, honestly, you're not going to be able to. Light video is a copy of a copy. Okay. And, chemistry, I'm sorry. Do you have your notifications set to all? Make sure, hit the bell. Make sure they're set to all, hon, because sometimes they revert back. So, yeah, she can take pictures down, but that doesn't change who the baby's father is. Yes. And yes, the mob crew will be talking about Jack and Lilly tonight. You're welcome, Katie. Yeah, and he will even, if you look up the video that he did about the lights, he will even tell you, okay, so law enforcement has the original footage from the camera, the security camera, right? The neighbors, I mean, the people who had that camera had the video on their computer. So then they didn't know how to get that um video onto um like a hard drive or whatever. And so they played the video on their computer and um took a video of it with their phone. So you got a lot of light pollution in that. You're not going to see it on your own. He, you know, and so he goes through it. He tells you what could be like light pollution and explains the whole thing. So I really recommend going to him because he's awesome. Right. Um, Daniel is not Lily and Jack's biological father. Um, their dad is Cody Sullivan, who is on house arrest, I believe. Um, but he did raise them for the last 2 years. But the baby Meadow is his biological child. And their CPS is not allowing him to see baby Meadow. And you can see a picture of baby Meadow right up here in it, but I'm not going to just show her because she's not a part of this. And if you guys want to see a picture of her, you go to Malaya's Facebook page, but I'm just not going to, I don't want to show that baby. Right. We don't know. We don't know if CPS has them. All we know is that Dan went to CPS to try to see his daughter and they said he could not. That's exactly what it feels like, right? And she's created a memorial page for her children, especially putting their dates of birth in there. What is her point is my question. I really want to know. No worries, chemistry. Yeah, you might want to because we talked about Sebastian. We've talked about a few different interesting things so far. Exactly. Exactly. Well, wait a minute. Let me see here. She did right here. Can you guys see that all right? I want an Amber Alert for my children. I want my babies home. My children are not shy to strangers and will go with anyone. They don't understand stranger danger. At this point, they may have been taken. Please send an Amber Alert now. And that was May 2nd at 10:03 p.m. that she posted that. Um, yeah, absolutely, Kent. Ginger, can you put the Mob Cruise link in the chat for me? I would appreciate it. Yeah, that was May 2nd, nothing since. Yes. All she made sure to do is change her profile to single and take off all of Dan's pictures. Yeah. All we really know in this case is what Daniel has been saying in the RC. Well, we have Malaya's first interview, well, first and only interview, right? But I wanted to quickly show you Mr. Yummy did a um a video. It's 13 minutes long, guys. We're going to go ahead and watch it. Because he's talking about, he's comparing the two cases in Nova Scotia.
We believe our private investigator. We believe that there's certain parts of her story that don't make sense. For now, I really hope she's out putting up posters and considering that she's responsible. Prove to the world or prove to us that you even care. You're a ghost. You should be ashamed of yourself.
That's the biological father at the center of a suspicious Canadian missing child case. Except it's not Lilly and Jack Sullivan, the one I've been analyzing almost every day since they disappeared. It's actually a different one with eerily similar circumstances, from the kid's age to the place they disappeared from, to even the day of the year that they disappeared. The only difference is, from the little I've seen of this dad, I already have lots of reasons to think that he's innocent. So in today's video, we're going to continue watching a documentary about this case to see what lessons we can learn and apply to our analysis of Lilly and Jack by way of comparison and contrast. I'm Deception Detective, an attorney trained in statement analysis. This channel exposes lies and manipulation, so if that's your thing, hit subscribe. For exclusives, early access, and other cool perks, consider becoming a channel member. Link in description. If you're not familiar with the disappearance of Dylan Ayler, or you missed my last video where we watched the first few minutes of this documentary, don't worry, because we actually left off right after they gave a really good recap of the case. So that's where I'm going to start us off. And then, just like last time, I have not watched further in this documentary, so we'll all be in the same boat reacting to the rest of it for the first time together as we watch on. All right, without further ado, let's watch.
Dylan was at his grandmother's residence on Queen Street playing outside. His grandmother became briefly distracted and turned around for a moment. And when she turned back, Dylan was no longer in the yard.
So many what ifs, woulda, shoulda, couldas, and that'll probably be with me the rest of my life.
Dorothy Parsons is Ashley's mother, Dylan's grandma.
On that last day when you were with Dylan, what was he like?
He was a very happy little boy that day. Very happy. And I'll never forget that little smile. I'd do anything to get that time back. Anything.
This is the last place where Dylan was seen.
Can you walk me through what happened on the day Dylan disappeared?
I decided to bring him outside to play. So we come over to here, and I just kind of get the dog, and I got her chain. And then after I got her hooked up, I turned around, and he's nowhere.
The police immediately focused on a brook behind her neighbor's backyard. Search and rescue crews battled high waters and raging currents before making a discovery that evening. Dylan's rubber boots.
One was found in the brook, in Leper Brook, probably closer to the property that the family owns. And then one was found further down the brook.
When the chief came in, he had a picture of boots on his phone. And when I seen them, I knew that they were his. And that was it. I started bawling and knew that they were Dylan's boots.
As I said in my last video, the grandma's story concerns me, not just because she was switching back and forth between past and present tense, which is usually the sign that someone's making up a lie on the spot, or they're reconstructing a fabricated story in their head. It's also because of how implausible the story is, right? If she turned around for a split second, did the 3-year-old toddler really have time to sprint into the water without making a noise? And how vague the story is. What exactly was she doing with the dog? Where exactly?
That's a really good point. Did the 3-year-old have, I mean, it went that quickly. Did he have a chance to sprint to that water that quickly? right? Just amazes you, right? Oh, chemistry queen, thank you so much. I'm glad you feel at home. That's been my number one goal for my channel is people feel safe and they feel comfortable talking here and they feel at home. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Granny wants to thank you all for kindness in the chat. Super stickers, bright and grand, gifts of love we understand.
Memberships you gifted here spread the joy and banish fear. Every super thanks you send warms her heart and ends the end.
Granny cheers with love so true for each special thing you do. Thank you from her heart. You all play a major part.
Thank you from my heart. All righty. See what everybody's saying here. I saw that too, Katie, that the grandma had a sign that said Lilly on it at one point. That was weird. And thank you. That is the link for the mob crew that Ginger shared. Thank you, Ginger. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's such a heartbreaking case. It looked like part of that yard was fenced, but not all of it. It looked like that driveway was totally open, didn't it? So let's continue on.
Exactly was Dylan standing? It's very nebulous the way that fake stories typically are. And that's why I played that video of Dylan's dad in the intro, because the person it was addressed to was the grandma, his mother-in-law, the last person to see him alive. So the fact that he's publicly suspicious of her is a great sign that he's innocent. As I often say on the channel, parents of missing children, if they have no idea what happened to their kid, are willing to blame anyone, even close relatives, if they don't have an alibi. And especially if they were the last person to see the kid alive and their story sounds like a lie. And this has been one of my biggest problems with Lilly and Jack's mother and her boyfriend since the beginning, almost ever since the day they disappeared. As I said in my last video analyzing Daniel, he's actually doing a lot of the things on my missing child presser checklist correctly. For instance, in this interview, he's allowing for multiple possibilities. Maybe the kids wandered off, or maybe they were abducted, but he's not allowing for every possibility. And when I mean he's not suspicious of the mother. And when I said that, I got lots of comments, I'm assuming from new subscribers saying, hey, DD, do you really expect these two parents to start suspecting each other or bashing each other on TV? And my answer is yes, that's what innocent people do because all options are on the table until proven otherwise, even suspecting your spouse. And it's not at all unique. We see it all the time on the channel. For example, with Gannon Stouch's mother, Kyron Harmon's mother, or Sebastian Rogers.
Okay, so is Malaya doing that? Right? Malaya is actually doing that, isn't she? She is blaming him. Even Daniel said that she's blaming him. Interesting.
Father. Now, sadly, we can add Dylan Ayler's father to that list of parents who are so desperate for answers that they'll turn on anyone. And thank you to channel member Asacia Rose for sending me the link to that video of Dylan's dad. I didn't even know he had a YouTube channel, and it's the epitome of a grieving father if you go check it out. One last comment before we keep watching, and it's about those boots that they found. To me, at least, they seem just a little bit too convenient. The way the prop master in a movie might set little breadcrumbs so that the audience knows what happened to a character who disappeared off screen. Maybe Dylan took off his boots and scattered them before he fell into the water, or maybe the water whooshed so quickly that it tore off his boots but left all his other clothing on. Either way, it's something we need to consider as we listen on to this grandmother, because if she is hoaxing, she's doing it the way that I think the Ramseys do it, where she actually includes little props to sell the hoax to us. All right, let's keep watching.
Was it like this when Dylan went missing?
No, it was nothing like this.
The grass is much higher, the water much lower than it was the day Dylan disappeared.
Oh, so the creek is right here.
Yeah, the creek's right here, the brook, Leopard's Brook.
Jason leads us to the exact spot where the boots were found.
So one boot was found here. Where was the other one found in relation to where we are now?
The other one was actually maybe 500 meters down the brook, and it was emerged underwater also, but it never made it to the river.
So this feeds into Salmon River?
Yes, correct.
And then what happens with Salmon River?
Salmon River feeds into the Bay of Fundy and then into the Atlantic.
The police were working on a theory.
Oh, breaks my heart. This breaks my heart. The Salmon River feeds into the Bay of Fundy, and the Bay of Fundy into the Atlantic Ocean. Which is what I've been wondering about Jack and Lilly, guys. Right? Let's continue.
Early, that Dylan bolted from his grandmother's house towards this brook, that his body was swept down to the Salmon River and out to the Bay of Fundy. A mannequin the same weight and height as Dylan was used to see if it was possible for a boy his size to be pulled down the creek and out to sea. But by then, the water levels had dropped significantly, and the mannequin didn't float freely without getting caught in debris.
They tried it, must have been half a dozen times.
What does that tell you?
Tells me the brook didn't have enough power to push out some boots, but it pushed a 32-pound child out. Nothing makes sense. The science doesn't even make sense to it.
The official search lasted 6 days before being called off.
My dreams are horrible. My dreams are nightmares. Every dream I have, I'm searching and I find them. But I can't get to him. I just see him from behind. So I just never get to him. It's like day one, all I want to do is pick him up, take him to my house.
What do you think? You like it?
The mystery of what happened to Dylan has consumed his parents and the small town.
I don't know about you guys, but that father makes me cry just like Seth does. Oh. Yeah, I think that's a red flag, right, Ginger? Daniel talking a lot about water. It was that leakage, you know. He talked about culverts being in waist-high water. Yeah, and he's so cute, that little Dylan, wasn't he? I mean, just so I'm seeing, we haven't even, Mr. Yummy's sitting there just watching this, right? But we haven't even gotten to the point where he talks about the parallels. But the parallels that I'm seeing right now are the water thing. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Town of Truro, population 12,000. In the early days, the community rallied around Jason and Ashley, leaving boots out on their front porches, creating a memorial with Dylan's favorite toys and blankets, volunteering for searches. This is Ashley 1 week after her son disappeared.
We didn't expect people to reach out like they have been. It's a small comfort that people are out there helping and, want to bring them home as much as we do.
Two things jumped out to me here about the Canadian investigation process. First, those dummies that they floated down the river. I don't put too much stock into that. If you've seen my videos about Nicola Bulley in the UK, you'll know just how hard water currents are to predict. And they even admitted themselves, the conditions are never exactly the same. Probably the best point that anyone made about that was Dylan's dad, when he pointed out how curious it was that the water was strong enough to pull Dylan out to sea, but not his cheap rubber booties. But the main thing that jumped out to me about the investigation process was that they ended the search after just 6 days, because that's something we've seen in the Lilly and Jack Sullivan case too. The RCMP did a brief, large-scale search, and then they paused it. And now, as of the time of recording, they've resumed it. And in the video I made commentating about that, I said that it could be a ploy by the RCMP to get new leads. Here's how I put it in that video, and it could be what happened in this case when the RCMP paused their search for Dylan. The search was paused and then resumed, because that could have been a ploy by the Major Crimes Unit to see how the parents would react. Did they plead for the searchers to remain there and continue looking the way we'd expect an innocent parent to do? Or did they simply shrug their shoulders and not protest too much? Or worse, celebrate the way that Darlie Routier did when she thought that she'd gotten away with it? So that could be what's going on here with the RCMP. They were waiting for some sort of bizarre behavior from either of the parents when they thought the search was over. But they could have also been watching the parents to see if they did anything that provided new leads to them, like driving to a remote location all of a sudden now that they thought no one was watching them, or resuming communication with each other after they made a big hoopla about not doing that anymore, and potentially saying something incriminating or suspicious, like syncing up their stories or expressing how happy they are that they got away with it, or anything else. But we'll probably have to wait a long time to find out if my hunch about that development being a ploy is correct, because the Canadian police are so tight-lipped. It turns out we might not have to wait as long as I thought in that video, because now we can see if they resumed this search with Dylan, which suggests that that really is a tactic that they're using. Let's keep watching.
We didn't expect people to reach out like they have been. It's a small comfort that people are out there helping and, want to bring them home as much as we do.
The days and weeks dragged on without any signs, any clues beyond those rubber boots. 1 month after the disappearance, Jason and Ashley announced a crowdfunded $10,000 reward in the event that Dylan had been abducted.
Please bring him home because I need him.
We miss him.
He's everything.
But soon after, the tide of support for Ashley and Jason whiplashed from sympathy to suspicion.
There are people that were saying that, we must have sat up all night and rehearsed what we were going to say. And, they just think that I should be crying more. And then when we do cry, it's crocodile tears.
Public scrutiny intensified after word got out that all was not right in the Ealer home. That 4 days before Dylan vanished, police had been called.
3 things. First, and most importantly, this search doesn't seem to have resumed, whereas the Lilly and Jack Sullivan search resumed after that brief pause, which leaves my theory about it being an RCMP tactic to get leads in limbo still. I can't tell. But my other 2 points relate to how people can go so wrong in these sorts of cases, including the police if they've been taught to analyze body language. Analyzing whether or not someone's crying enough, or how much they're blinking, or if they're moving or not, does not help you determine whether or not they're lying. In fact, there's plenty of research, which I posted in the DD forum, showing that the more you know about body language analysis and the more you pay attention to it, the worse you become at detecting lies. So that's why I never commentate about whether or not someone's crying enough. It's too subjective and totally irrelevant. Finally, the use of heuristics like whether or not someone has a criminal record or if they told a lie in the past can take you down wrong paths as well. If you want to continue analyzing this documentary, let me know by liking, commenting, and sharing. Check the...
I really like that he said that. I love that he said that, in fact. The fact that somebody had a criminal history doesn't help. And it is so true, guys. I hate when people go, real life. We don't need to know that stuff. It doesn't help us find these kids, right? So I'm just looking to see what you guys had to say. I'd like to know if Daniel was wet when he returned and the Mounties were there. Good point. Well, you know that they know. Yes, real emotion makes us feel something. And when that both fathers, right? Dylan's father and Sebastian's father. Get me crying every time. It's true police municipal force that did the Dillon case through, not the RCMP. Gotcha. You gotta love Mr. Yummy. You absolutely do. That was the end of his video. So, but I agree with what he said. Totally. You know, if they had criminal past, doesn't matter, right? The only way that comes into play is like if they are charged with something and it's, their past criminal behavior is consistent with what they're charged with, right? So, absolutely. I mean, I like that he said that. I'm glad that he said that. But once again, I mean, and what do you guys think about what he's thinking, that that search was resumed again and stopped again? Do you think they're trying to, I mean, mom is not saying anything publicly anyway. I don't know what she's saying to law enforcement, and she's obviously not putting anything on her Facebook. Ginger said, I would like to know about the people who last had contact with the children. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as far as Dylan's case, that is really heartbreaking. It's kind of like we've learned about another child, right? Another missing child's case, but I pretty much, the grandmother, in my opinion, is suspicious, but I would pretty much guess that he is at a burial at sea as well, right? I hope and I pray that I'm wrong about my hunch about Lilly and Jack. I really do hope that they're found. Yeah. Well, and the terrain, just looking at, you saw that one guy. So I'll play it again. I'm just going to turn off the thing, but I'll show the search while we're talking here. I mean, but if you look at the terrain that they're talking about here, and everything that they're going through, I look at they're going up a hill. They're, I mean, obviously they're doing everything that they can. But even this retired dog handler is saying he doesn't understand how these kids could just disappear like that, right? And that there's no scent. See, that reminds me of Sebastian. It just reminds me of Sebastian. And they even had, look at tents here. So they were staying out there, guys. Right there. Do you see that, how they're walking through that? Walking on logs, walking over logs. I mean, this, look at how thick that is. Exactly, Katie. They wouldn't make, they wouldn't have made it. I don't think they're in the woods. Yes, for sure. She was a little screamer, right? She was a little screamer. Yeah, I don't know what to think yet. I have suspicions, but I just don't know what to think. This area, the larger community, is known as Pleasant Valley, and you're basically at the bottom of a mountain between Pictou County and Colchester, which rises about, oh wow, 1,800 feet. And then you had the tornado go through there, and they're walking on logs and walking over logs, and besides all the brush they're walking through, and the bugs and the ticks, and guys, even dogs going through that. Those poor dogs. Many of us are dog lovers, right? And Shelley, you just never thought they were in the woods from the get-go. Yeah. I mean, Mount Thomas is a mountain. Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't know what, I mean, they said after that last one that they're just gonna review things and take another look, yeah, and he jumped in his car and he headed for the roads. It would have been on one of the knowing ATV paths that they walk with their dad. Exactly. Exactly. Because they did. They had an ATV there. The brother was sitting on it, lounging on it, right? So they must have been driving down. I mean, people have been known to cut paths for my uncle had like 40 acres, I think, here in Wisconsin, and he cut paths so that he could ride around on his ATV with, right? Move logs out of the way, that kind of thing, right? But I agree with you, Shelley. They're too young to get that far in the woods. If they're out there, someone put them there. But I don't see someone carrying two kids through that terrain. I agree. I don't think they put them in that terrain. I think they put them in water. Just like poor little Dylan. The one thing that's really standing out to me, guys, is the fact that there are similarities, right, in missing kids cases. And it's very odd. Did the parents say they went in the woods? No, the parents talked about abduction right from the get-go. Yeah, but Ken, weren't the parents talking about abduction right from the beginning? I know Malaya was in that interview that she did. I don't know, maybe Daniel. But yet he went out on the road with he took his truck. Oh, that's right. He told the RCMP that the children went through the fence at the back of the property into the woods in one of his statements. Yeah, he did. He did. Mom's the one that's been screaming about abduction and wanting an Amber Alert. Yeah, abducted in the middle of nowhere, right? I mean, there's nothing around there. The odds of that happening are slim to none, honestly. The road is not a highway that people go through to get somewhere else, right? It, you know, and Daniel keeps changing his statements, and that's why the mom keeps pointing the finger. But I think mom, I don't know, I kind of wonder if mom has some guilty knowledge as well. Plus the pipeline that goes by the area, once they get on that, they could have traveled right straight through to Halifax and or New Brunswick. Mom complaining about the Amber Alert is to keep attention away from them, in your opinion. I getcha. Kent, do you really think they could have got that far on their own? 6 and 4 years old in that terrain? I'm not seeing it. I mean, I could be wrong and you could be right. You know, I'm just thinking that if somebody did something with these kids, whoever it is, you know, nobody's being accused here. But they would know that the first place that the police are going to look is in the woods around the house. So what's smarter? Yeah, but they had from Tuesday afternoon up until Friday morning, Kent, to put them near water. That, you heard the Salmon River empties into the Bay of Fundy, which empties into the Atlantic Ocean. Um, I don't know, Kent, I have to disagree with you because she's saying right here on May 2nd at 10:03 p.m. This is mom. My children are not shy to strangers and will go with anyone. They don't understand stranger danger. At this point, they may have been taken. Please send an Amber Alert now. So mom was pushing the abduction theory right from the day one, May 2nd. No, the police didn't believe they were abducted at all. No. Yeah. No, and if that's what you were saying about police, yeah, police were not going with the abduction theory at all. Right. We don't know that much about Daniel's brother or mother and how they felt about the children and their mother taking over their home while they lived in that RV. Yeah. I think of Maddie's case and her in the car. Yeah. And that's the thing. There are so many things that could have happened, right? We just don't know. We just don't know. But children just don't vanish. They just don't vanish. They're 6 and 4, guys. I don't think they would have lasted long in that terrain. No, I don't. I didn't tell you what I think happened. I think one was an accident and the other one they had to get rid of because of a cover-up because of their illegal activities that caused. Gotcha. The original problem, then I think they took them somewhere and buried them or put them in water, or if they're in water, I predict, in my opinion, they're in something else. Because eventually they'll pop to the surface. If they're in a lake or something, they would pop to the surface. If they're in the ocean, at this point, they could be eaten alive. Right. We don't have anything to go on, do we? There's, I mean, any of these things could have happened, except that I really honestly don't believe those kids are in the woods. They would have found them, in my opinion, right? Unless they were taken away from that area, which they could have been. They had plenty of time. And Kent, I completely agree with you that an accident could have happened to one of them, and the other one was, which makes sense because Dan was talking about Lilly in the past tense, but he was talking about Jack in the present tense. That's kind of eerie. Why do you talk about one child in the past tense and the other in the present tense? That's completely strange. No, we're talking about Jack and Lilly not getting into the ocean. I mean, all of it is, all of it's out there, guys. All of it's up in the air. Any of it could be a possibility, right? I mean, I guess even them being in the woods could be a possibility if we think about it, right? Something could have been missed that's happened before. Wasn't there a child a couple years ago that they found him again? I mean, when they went back through the same area. Gotcha. That's not what she said at 10:03 p.m. that night. So I don't know what I don't understand why she thinks that they could have been taken by someone. I think that's crazy because there's nobody around there. Yeah, Jack and Lily didn't like to be cold and wet. My opinion, they didn't go out to play that day. Yeah. And I agree, chemistry. They've done a thorough search, from what we've seen. I mean, they use drones, they've used dogs, they've used horses. I mean, helicopters, thermal imaging, as well as 2 sets of searches. Exactly, Cheryl. Nobody, because supposedly they were in bed with the baby. Right? They don't even talk about coats being missing. They just talk about their boots being missing. Yeah, Shelley, that I can't remember which child it was, but they had searched an area, but then when they came back and searched again, they found him in the area that they had already searched. So that has happened, okay? And when you look at that terrain, I guess that could be a possibility, right? I mean, we've got everything on the table here. Yeah. Chemistry says, I hope they didn't drive away on Wednesday or Thursday and bury them somewhere. I know. Yeah, they had no idea what Jack was wearing. Don't you know what clothes that your kids have? I mean, I always did, right? I would know what was missing. I don't know. Crazy. But so Grannyism for today is truth does not mind being questioned. A lie does not like being challenged. The this statement kind of reminds me of CP. Oh, goodness. Doesn't like to be challenged. Right, guys? I got a feeling Lily did her own clothes and her brother's, but could be. Yeah, exactly, chemistry. And you know the clothes she has because you do her wash, right? They said, he was wearing the clothes from the day before. Yeah. I know. It's either way. It's really sad that we're sitting here talking about where are the bodies of these children instead of let's bring these little babies home. They're alive somewhere, right? We all know they're not, don't we? How sad is that? How sad is that? It's just sad. You think about little Dylan. No pajamas at night. Good point, Cheryl. So they didn't leave with their pajamas on. They got up and got dressed on their own. 6 and 4. The other thing is you couldn't get out of bed and change a pull-up, get him breakfast. Oh, I did want to say, guys, that it has been known that whooping cough has been going around that area. So they are telling people to keep their kids home if they have a cough. So to me, that would explain why Malaya kept them home. Exactly, Ken. Too much time from when they were last getting off the bus to when the report went in at 9:40 that they were missing since 8 a.m. Friday. That's okay, chemistry. I think we're all thinking the same thing. A little bit of neglect there, and maybe more. Just saying. I don't want to accuse anybody, and we're not specifically saying anybody, but you know, you can't deny that they stayed in bed when they heard the kids up in the next room. That was their words, not ours. Fact. Right? Facts. They said it. We did not. We're just repeating it. We're just repeating it. So true, Shelley. The big difference is parents and grandparents that pay attention to their children know everything about their children to others that do not. Exactly. You know, guys, I have to say this, and it goes along with this comment right here. And I know it may not be a popular thing, but these two children are too old to have these pacifiers. I'm just saying. And it goes along with this. Lazy dollar signs. I can't help it. You know. And then that's proven to cause problems because their mouth and their jaws do not grow in a way for the children to be able to talk properly. Yeah, they made themselves look neglectful. You know. And it kind of goes along with everything that we have been talking about, like even with the Sebastian Rogers case, is that today too many children are diagnosed autistic when they may not be. They may have CPTSD or a problem with the effects of pacifier use on language development in children, right? It can lead to delayed oral motor development. Consider that lower levels of oral motor skills correspond with lower levels of language. Grammatical vocabulary. Reduce the opportunity for infants to practice oral motor movements such as tongue and lip movements, which are critical for speech development and production. I'm just saying, guys, that's real. That is something that is very real. Yeah, obviously potty training is a priority either. My mom would say lazy parents that want to keep their children quiet. Well, Yeah, it's harder to teach your child not to scream than to put a pacifier in her mouth. Just saying. I know. And I don't think any of us are trying to be judgmental or rude or mean, right? Kent said it the best. Unfortunately, in this case, I think that's the saddest part. I think, Kent, you may be onto something. We have two children here, two precious little babies, that neglect may have been the reason that something happened to one of them. And they had to cover it up. I don't know. And just allegedly, in my opinion, guys, yeah. So we did a little research. She would have gotten like almost $1,300 monthly for those kids, plus was it $2,000 extra from the tribe, Ginger? That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, guys. A lot of money. But that's all that I really have for tonight. I want to thank you guys for being here. Please, please light it up green for Sebastian. I don't know if they're using a color for Lilly and Jack. I haven't heard or seen anything. But keep them in your prayers as well. We need all three home, right? Kids just don't go poof. They just don't. Yeah, she would get her federal funds because the father isn't in the picture. Katie. And then she also gets the money from the tribe as well because the children are part of that tribe. So, but yeah, keep these kids in your prayers. We want them home, right? We want them home. Yep. Pacifiers would keep them quiet and also prevent them from learning how to talk correctly. All right. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. I appreciate these. You guys keep me on my toes. I appreciate, our conversations. I like that, you can put out something that I'm not thinking about because it helps us to think what could have happened for sure, right? What could have happened to these kids? So, well, thank you so much, guys. Please, if you haven't already, hit the like button on the way out. Oh, the party Saturday is at 2 p.m. Central Time. Chemistry. All right. So thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow night, guys. Have a good night. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.